Research shows that the United States has the highest rates of teenage pregnancy and teen births in the Western industrialized world. Every year, around 750,000 teenagers will get pregnant. More than 2/3 of all teenagers who have a baby will not graduate from high school. Teen mothers account for 11% of all births in the U.S. And just because teens are in church does not mean they are immune to these statistics. I have here with me today Shanika Bray, a 22-year-old mother who's going to share with us her experiences and her story of restoration. Shanika, thank you for being here with us today.
I'm glad to be here. I'm really excited about telling my testimony.
Shanika, tell us about your background and your upbringing.
Yes, I was born and raised in the church, a place of refuge. From birth, I was there in ministries. I did so many different activities that were in the church, so I was literally born and raised in the church.
How old were you when you started to stray from God, and what were the events or the way that you were raised?
I think I began to stray in, the way that I was raised at the age of 15 and 16. When I reached the level of high school, I just began to see different things. I was a cheerleader, so it was easy for me to do and go and do things without my mother knowing. So I was able to go to parties and drink and stay out all night and do the things that I know that weren't the will of God or the way that my mother had brought me up.
Tell us about the events that led to you leaving the Lord and becoming a pregnant teenager.
Yes, I can remember when I used to cheer, I used to go to the parties, I used to drink. I used to just party and just be wild, as most people would say. And I can remember myself just talking to different guys, getting involved with people that I know I had any business being involved with, hanging with different crowds that I would normally never hang with, people that I once used to hang with that were in my church. I just began to stray away from them and go to a different crowd that was more, I thought, my speed at that time, which really they weren't even on my level as a Christian. So I began to just do different things that I had no business doing. At this time, I was drinking, partying, and at that time, I was having sex and drugs. I never used them, but I was around them, and I knew what they were. And it was beginning to take a big toll on me because I didn't see the difference at that time, but I could see myself changing. But at that time, I just thought it was part of my youth and that I could do these things and no consequences would get added on to me for that.
What was your initial reaction when you discovered you were pregnant, and how hard was it to tell your parents? How did they take it?
It was hard for me to tell my mother because she trusted me in so many ways. She knew when I was out that she felt like she could trust me because I wouldn't do anything. But I remember going to her job, telling her, I'm pregnant, and her reaction was for her to cry. But my first reaction myself was honestly to have an abortion, because in my mind, I'm like, I can't do this. I don't know how to raise a child. And I was a senior at this time, and getting ready to graduate, a child was the furthest from my mind. And I also can remember my church family, because by me being born and raised, being in different ministries and different activities, it was hard for me to tell people that, hey, look, I'm pregnant now. I can't do the same things that I was doing once in ministry. So it was really hard. I remember telling my youth pastor and even telling my dad over the phone. It was just so hard to actually get through those people, to tell them, now I'm at a place that if anytime I need you now, but I'm pregnant and I can't do the things that I've been doing.
How did your life change after you had your baby, and how difficult was it to be a young mother?
It's difficult. I'm pretty sure it's difficult for any mother. But for me, I'm 22 with a 3-year-old. And for that, I am a single mother, so I have to go to work every day. School, I'm just now being able to get back on track. Some people can and are guaranteed to go back to school if they have that help support. But my help support came a little later than what I was used to. So at the age of 22, having a 3-year-old is very difficult. It's expensive in itself, and not only that, it's a challenge to be able to get into the routine, because I was 18 years old when I first had her. So it was hard to even get in the routine to say, hey, it's not about me, it's about this baby. So let me see where I can go and see what I can do with this child. And for me, it took me longer than others than it may, because I struggled with saying, let me shake this feeling because it's not about me anymore. I got to be there for that child. So it was pretty difficult.
What type of support system do you have in place now when it comes to raising your daughter?
I definitely have my mother and my father. I have my sister. I have my church family. I have my entire family. And I thank God because I actually have his side of the family to be a support system. And this is what most girls don't understand. That's not always true. Some parents, you'll have one single mother and the father's never there, and the father's family is never there. So I thank God that I do have that support system that is there right now for me.
When did you decide it was time to return to Christ? And what events led to this decision?
Even after I had my child, I began to still struggle with who I was and what I wanted to do as a Christian, or even as a sinner, if you would say. I struggled with partying, drinking, selling drugs, not even per se for myself, because I never had to. But if somebody needed me to do something, I was that naive to say, hey, I'll go do it for you. Because I felt that I was obligated to certain people in my life at that time when I know I had no business dealing with them in the first place. I can remember going to different parties, and this is college time at this time, drinking, having sex with different people, and sometimes it was just places I was like, this is not me. But I continued to go ahead and to go further in that sin that I was in, leading into me to, I went to jail one time just because of the situations that I was allowing myself to get into, even when I knew better. So it was a big spiral for me going downhill until I had to shake myself.
What is your advice to teen girls who are caught up in the same things that you were caught up in?
I would definitely tell young girls to, one, it's going to be hard for them to stop, and that's just honest. But I think that they should try to seek for help. I know I had to go to plenty of people that were older than me that had been through the same thing that I had been through to get that advice, to get that support, to see what it is that I needed to do to encourage myself to not do the same things such as sex. Again, I think that they should honestly sit down with their parents, because it was hard for me to tell my mother I was pregnant, but I wish I would have went back and said, hey mom, I'm having sex. I also think that they should definitely just stay prayed up. And if they're not in the church, still know that there is help out there, because some girls may not be in the church and may still be looking for answers. So if they are looking for answers, honestly, Jesus is the answer.
How would you encourage a young girl who has strayed from the Lord and is now pregnant or a teenage mother?
Well, if she's coming from the church, my advice to her, pray. Listen to other people that have been through what you've been through. I didn't do that because I used to be in the youth ministry and had testimonies of other mature saints come in and give their testimony, and now I'm one of them. So it's like I could have listened, and I could have received what they said, and I could have applied it to my life so that I wouldn't have to go through the same things that I'm in now. So make sure you listen and make sure you apply what is being fed into your life.
Now that you're back serving faithfully in the church, what keeps you grounded? And what are you looking for God to do in your life?
What keeps me grounded is my church family, my bishop. Like, the messages that he gives, I have to say, it is for me. If it's not for anybody else in that church, it is for me. So I have to feel that I don't come anymore just to sit in church or just to dress up. I come to listen because I'm really hungry for a word, and I'm really thirsty to know what level God wants to take me to. I really want to see myself grow and be a blessing to, whether that's young girls or whether that's even young men could get a deliverance off of my testimony, because they need to see, yeah, I may have got that girl pregnant, but this is what she's going to go through if I'm not there for her. So it can go either way. So I just feel that God has a plan for my life. Whether it's good for some people or some people it may be a hard testimony, I want them to know that it's honestly a God-sent message. And I'm really happy to be where I am right now in Christ.
It's so awesome, Shanika. We appreciate it, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
It's so good to hear that even though you made those wrong choices, that you still allowed him to come back into your heart and to get back on track.